Hello and welcome to Urban Fusion. I'm your host, Zuli Nalza, and today we're discussing Fela, the musical that premiered on Broadway in 2009. It's made a smash hit, and now the group is touring all over the country. And today I'm here to discuss the show with Elasea, Douglas, and Ogugua Iwelu. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for stopping by. So, how did you guys come to bring Fela and Fela Kuti's story here to the States here in New York? Who wants to start that off?
Well, I understand that it was conceived by Bill T. Jones and Steve Hendel, both producer, director, probably about 8 years ago, and they were workshopping it, and Steve Hendel always had a love for Fela Kuti's music, and throughout the years, and decided to let's see if we can bring this to life. So he got in touch with Bill T, and then after 8 years, it got on Broadway.
It just made its way. So how did you come to be a part of the ensemble on Broadway?
Personally, I heard about the show when it was running off Broadway. I think that was in 2008.
Yes.
And I was actually doing a show that we both were up for the same Adulco Award, and of course Fela won it. And so it was in the air. And right after doing my one-woman show in 2009, I was looking up auditions and I saw it. So I actually shaved the back of my hair and everything just to kind of be in the swag of what I saw on YouTube, the past production. And I went and auditioned. I was there for about a full day. I was a non-union member then, so I had to wait a while and wound up staying until about 5 in the evening and got sides to read for Sandra Isidoro, who was one of the leads, and we came back in 2 days later and did that audition. About a couple weeks after that, I got the call that not only did I join the company, but I was also understudy for the role of Sandra Isidoro.
Oh, that's awesome. So let's talk a little bit more about Fela Kuti's story. Mr. Iwelu, you knew him personally, grew up with his children, and went to school with them. But yeah, that's a big deal.
No, you are quite informed. You
didn't know?
Tell us about it.
So what do you think people might not have known about Fela Kuti that you might want to share today? I mean, about his story and about his music, and what was it like working with him?
Fela was, because his field of performance was, or his field of profession was music, people would want to easily clarify him as a star. But for me, I would say Fela was an icon because it was a moment in the struggle of Nigeria trying to find a direction, or Africa at large. Nigeria was just some kind of the idea of the whole of Africa, and people needed some kind of mouthpiece that they didn't have because corruption kind of engulfed the whole place. So Fela became that mouthpiece. And Fela, I think if he weren't a musician, I would suspect he would have been a comedian. Because, and if you've seen his music, if you understand Pidgin English, it was about satire, making fun of these guys. These guys were typically thought of being very serious, and people were so scared of them. But Fela demystified all of that. A case in point would be what he did to the military.
Yes, the song Zombie. Yes, and he got into some trouble for that. So,
you don't yap soldiers and go free in Nigeria, not at that time. I was a kid then, and they were really serious. They were the power to be.
So for yourself, I mean, you said music was the voice for the people. So you yourself, you were going in a direction in terms of your career, and you decided to come into music as well, as a way to. You thought music versus what your parents had a path for you.
Right.
Right. So how did you come to decide that you wanted to focus on music instead of the path your parents?
I'm not really known as a musician, but I work in the music business.
Right.
But with regards, Fela actually kind of pushed me in that direction, because I have to back up for a minute. Our society, and Fela has talked about that, about how everybody oppresses everybody. Your father beats your mother beats you, you beat your sister beats your brother. The beating goes down, the scapegoat idea. And in doing that, I had the problem most people had on the streets. So when I met Fela, you know, it's like, wow, I've been trying to escape, and there comes the guy who can help me escape, because we know him for his rebellion. And I was rebellious as a kid in the house too. I wanted to get out. And as soon as I encountered that guy, I'm like, okay, there I go. So I rolled out. So wherever he was where I was at.
Okay.
So that kept the music. I studied film, but I kind of...
You studied film, and you said you did help to put together a show for him in 2004, I believe. Did you produce a concert for him?
Yeah, I have this concert called Fela Day.
Okay.
It's a tribute to him. I've done like two times already.
2 times already?
Yeah.
Okay.
One at Fort Greene Park. I make it a free show. But it's also an AIDS awareness, because you know Fela died of AIDS.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, and so the musical that they produced here in New York on Broadway, how accurate is that story?
It's very accurate. I tell you something. I give us, and that's really my respect for Steve Hendel. Though I work for him, but I really respect him because he tried to make sure that we kept it as authentic as possible. You know, and that made it very accurate. We did a lot of tweaking and correcting, but of course, you know, we are attending to an international audience. So it can't exactly be, because people will say, oh, you know, it's not really, no. But see, keep in mind, the audience we are attending to is not just a Nigerian or African audience. We attend to a global audience. So they made it comfortable for everybody to be able to get a part of it. So it's accurate, to say the least.
Okay. And you yourself, you believe it's the story is...
Yeah. It was interesting because although it was, I won't say it was watered down for the global audience, but it was real enough that after a couple of moments of embarrassment or feeling uncomfortable, you could at least respect that it was said. You know, there was a couple of lines in the show that I know some people even walked out on. You know, being like I think there's a quote that. What did colonialism give us, pretty much, which is gonorrhea and Jesus. And, you know, I know that always causes stir. And we've witnessed a couple of people walking out, you know, due to the certain jars or stabs made at the different things that historically did affect Africa and that did influence some of Fela's ideals. So, yeah, it's authentic enough for people to get not only the reality of it, but the rawness of it too. You know.